Good morning, YouTube. It is a brisk morning out. It's probably about 47 degrees out right now, but the sun is high and strong. Feels pretty good. Arizona RE taking you guys up through Gates Pass, west of Tucson, Arizona. This is the area here that connects Tucson through the Tucson Mountains with Aver Valley and the Altar Valley spillover. Wow, look at all these cyclists. And it is just beautiful out here. Gosh, look at some of these mansions up here. Goodness. Boy, I don't know who you have to kill to get one of those houses, but my goodness. At any rate, it is just gorgeous out here. You can see these saguaros. Now, to give you guys some perspective, because I know the GoPro smashes everything down in order for you to benefit from that wide-angle lens. But just remember that each of these saguaros out here, nearly all of them are as tall as telephone poles. Okay? So when you see one on the side of the road through my lens, remember that thing's about the size of a telephone pole. And when you see them scattered across a hill and they don't look any more than like a toothpick, remember it's about the size of a telephone pole with a couple of telephone poles growing out of it. So for perspective, maybe that'll help. We're coming up here through Gates Pass right now, and well, in the shadow of that mountain through this canyon, it is actually kind of cold. But it is a beautiful, beautiful day. I've got the pin lock in my visor here. And I got to say, it works like a champ. I got one of the universal ones that just sort of sticks in, because this is a cheap helmet. Some of you may remember I got this helmet for $40, and it doesn't come with a pin lock shield. So I bought one of the stick-in kinds where you just stick the ends, and then the little gel adheres itself. Tucson Mountain Park just adheres itself to the shield, and it does a fantastic job. Unfortunately, everything I've tried to try and sort out my specs, my glasses, has failed. So my glasses will still fog up when the shield is shut, when I come to a stop and I'm yapping on. But I have to say the stick-on pin lock really, really works well. So for what it's worth. At any rate, wow. Okay, the sun feels much better now. It is gorgeous out here. Holy crap. I gotta slow down a little bit. No one's behind me. This is just too beautiful to blast through. I've come out here before, and it's always interesting because when you're taking someone along, for example, you folks right here in my cameras. Hi, guys. When I'm taking you guys along, I almost see things anew, almost like I hadn't seen them before, because I'm trying to consider what it must be like for those of you who have never seen this kind of thing before to be laying eyes on it. So here you got mesquite and live oak and ocotillo just growing straight up out of the rocks. I mean, that's incredible. Well, this road used to be really, really deadly. They straightened it out a little bit, believe it or not, and they also added quite a bit of erased quite a bit of the grade, because it used to be right up here after you make this turn that it just almost went straight down, and it's not like that anymore. They really stretched it out and carved a new area for it, so it's not nearly as deadly. But it was this road is very famous in southern Arizona for taking a lot of lives. Look at that. That is beautiful. Sorry, the sun's probably in the camera. Look at that. Wow. Okay, I gotta watch where I go because there's not much of a curb here. Letting my motor do most of the braking here. Just helping out on the straightaways with the hand and foot. That's one benefit of a large displacement single. You got 500 cc's, unbalanced, super heavy piston, and it is really, really good with all the compression it generates at slowing you down. We came down one of the more treacherous roads just now with very little issue. So this road, yeah, it used to just drop to this elevation right here almost immediately, and folks would wreck really, really bad. Wow. Wow. That's just spectacular. See you, Saguaro. This is beautiful. So as we're coming through this area here, we are coming up on Old Tucson. Old Tucson is a movie studio, and you know, most of the original Tucson studios burned down, I think, back in 1991. The town was always built as a movie set. You may remember it. Many of the John Wayne movies were filmed there. Portions of lots of other movies are filmed there. The Three Amigos. Let me think. Tombstone, portion of it was there, especially with the locomotive. They have an actual working steam engine locomotive that they use, and a lot of movies will come out and film just that portion of it rolling into the depot. They'll change the signage and everything to read whatever town or city they need it to, and they shoot that footage there, and it only backs up about 150 yards, starts up and steams its way into the stop, and that's pretty much what they use it for. No, but you've probably seen it in movies. If you like to watch westerns, you've probably seen Old Tucson Studios. Don't even know it. Probably the most famous movie that was filmed out here besides Tombstone was Rio Bravo. So, at any rate, you know, we're coming up here to Kinney Road. I think I'm going to turn around and we're going to go back up Gates Pass from the west side. And we'll have a little bit of sun in our faces, but it won't be too bad. And it's still really, really beautiful out here. So, of course, you folks know that there's Gates Pass. This is the area we just came through. That little narrow spot right there at the top, that's where we came down. And this is the Tucson Mountains. It's the west side of the Tucson Mountains. Now, as you guys know, you can't hop along on my bike for a ride without me giving you guys a little bit of history about the area, right? So we'll go ahead and do that. A little bit of history on this area. It works like this. Tucson, one of the first cattle ranches was established by a rancher named Romero, and that has since become Catalina State Park, the Romero Ranch. But the Thomas Gates Ranch was the first cattle ranch so close to Tucson. And that cattle ranch was right here in this area that you see through here. Now, knowing that obviously it was a little more lush back then, but you know, cows don't do so well eating cactus and scrub brush, triangular sage and whatnot. But nonetheless, they had a huge cattle ranch out here, and Thomas Gates also owned a saloon and a hardware store in town. So that hardware store and saloon was a location that he really wanted his ranch hands to go to, but it was so far to go down and go through the Ajo Pass that he bought this land and he paid them to build this road that cuts up and through and drops into Tucson, and went to the Gates Saloon, and it stopped right there at the Gates Saloon, and across the road was the hardware store. And then, you know, you could take a little two-track and get over to Tucson. Well, the interesting thing about that is that Mr. Gates owning all this land, and then he also owned the place where all of his ranch hands would recreate. So he'd really recirculate a lot of the money. So he'd pay his ranch hands, and then they'd turn around, go over the pass, and go to his stores, and would then pay him for the liquor at the saloon and the materials they needed to keep working, their gloves and their dungarees and their boots and hats and things like that. He'd sell to them at the hardware store. So it was really quite the racket. And in addition to that, once the cattle business started to slow down for him, he used to charge a toll to get through this pass once he'd improved the road. And by and by, the land ended up becoming state property through, that was back in the 1800s. So through his family, much of this area was left to the state. They just donated it to the state as a preserve. So then it became a state road and a county road. Wow. This is beautiful. Now this little infield, these little infields are notorious for climbing the Himalayas. I'll link a video in the description of these Royal Enfields climbing the Himalayas, but I gotta tell you, if you put them in second gear, you can damn near idle up the side of this mountain. If you didn't have to account for balancing, you could probably climb straight up the side of a rock, which is essentially what I'm doing right now. Oh wow, look at that. Okay, so right up here is the hairpin turn, and this is where a lot of motorcycles get clipped coming from this direction. So I'm going to track to the inside, even though it's this weird increasing grade here. There we go. Excellent. Alright, that was beautiful. So we're going to pull over here to the pullout, and we'll let the bike have a little rest after climbing so high and carrying my fat butt up that hill. We're going to go ahead and turn in, take a little rest. I'm going to walk up to one of the lookouts and maybe video around right there. Anybody coming? Nope. There we go. So this sign right here says that Thomas Gates, that's his picture there, paid $1,000 to grade that road into a dirt road to take him down to the valley below. This right here is Gates Pass. You know what? My little BlackBerry has a 1080p camera on it. Can just use it. Here we go. This ought to be a better. Alright, so we're looking at Gates Pass. Right down there in the center, that's old Tucson movie studios that I was telling you about. Over here to the left and up high, I don't know if it's coming out on the video, but that will be Kit Peak. And up high you can see some white little knobs on top of that mountain, and that is the Kit Peak Observatory. And they are the ones who discovered the Shoemaker-Levy 9 comet. And this is our valley below, along with 3 points. And if you look out there just before you get to those mountains, and just before you get out there, you see this large area. Looks like it's been cultivated, and it's all flat. Now, some of those are alfalfa fields, and they grow feed and stuff like that for the livestock that they keep. But quite a bit of that is actually owned by the city of Tucson. It is what's known as the Central Arizona Project water. So the Central Arizona Project had to do with water that was purchased from Colorado, taps off the Colorado River, runs through a channel, and then gets stored in the country's largest underground lakes that Arizona keeps right here. So they lose little to evaporation in these storage tanks. And they say that there's enough water out there to supply Tucson, Arizona with water, and southern Arizona with water, for 5 years. As long as we keep getting our average rainfall. If there's ever a serious drought, we're going to be in trouble, because we got less than 5 years at that point. But Arizona, that makes Arizona one of the few states that have actively prepared for severe drought conditions. Whereas California right now, not so much. So anyway, that little interesting tidbit. Alright, so I'll go ahead and send to myself, and it should be uploaded on my computer's Dropbox by the time we get back, and I can edit it in. So there you go. Gates Pass. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. Again, looking at how some of these cactus just grow straight up out of the rocks. It's unbelievable. Each one of these saguaros weighs thousands of pounds. Goofy turn here. This increasing radius. That is some tough stuff right there. Wow. This is just beautiful. Beautiful. There you can see the Tucson Valley floor in the distance. And over there is Mount Lemmon. Beautiful. I got to tell you, riding up here just puts a smile on my face. It really, really does. It is just so gorgeous. I especially love it when there's no one behind me. I know that a lot of you would like to get on curvy roads like this and really carve them up, but just when there's so much to see, I like just putting. Just pop, right through. Well, folks, thanks for riding along with me. If you guys ever make it down to Tucson, we'll come do this ride together, because it's one of those things. It's within just a dozen miles of my home, and yet it's just so reachable and so beautiful. Really love this country, and I really love this state. Man, if we could keep intact so many things uncorrupted by personal and government influence, whew, if we could just keep some of those things intact, Arizona will be a beautiful place to come visit for a long, long time. Okay, so we're recording. Hopefully this time we've got audio. Piss me off.